Woo! Telling you guys. Monday. It's always challenge getting things going on Monday. I've got everything in a kilter because I'm trying to adjust the camera and I just ran out of time. So everything's in a kilter. Got junk everywhere. Busy weekend. For those of you I talked to, it has been a very busy weekend. Not just this mess right here, um, but setting up network gear, running access points, not terminating. Mako and M took care of the termination. They got everything terminated, cleaned up. All that stuff was good. I just had to get stuff ran. So we did get the Unify system up and running. So the UDM Pros up, installed, up and running. The 250 watt switch, the 24 port switch up and running. The flex switch up and running. 3 access points up and running. Beautiful. I did the videos, putting it all together. You guys are going to see it soon. Still got to put the Unify Protect in place. I've got to record that. Got to get the cameras up and running. All kinds of stuff coming for you guys to see how easy this thing is to work. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's coming in Monday morning, seeing what's going on. What is going on in the world? Got some good people out there. Dennis is up and running. JJ is up and running. Good morning, folks. Yeah. Morning all. Yeah, I know when you hit the intro a little too soon, that happens. Wow. So I do definitely need my Illy coffee in this Boston cup. Man, we changed the framing. The framing is a little different. I know Paul's going to say, that is too low. It needs to get back up high where we can see it. And I agree. I don't see Paul out there. Paul's probably out there hiding in this morning. So everything's just a little bit off. And I know, deal with this being a little bit off kilter. If you look, this side of the table is higher than this side. That's because the camera over there is tilted. And last minute, I just didn't get it adjusted so that we could be still live at 7:30. It's important to go live at 7:30 a.m. But yeah, gotta say, Ubiquity, you did it right. Not only is the packaging nice, it's like Apple stuff. Apple stuff is just it's nice. It's nice like that. Everything works well. You adopt something, you bring it in, you can apply access points. We just put 3 access points in. They're all power over Ethernet. Once I got them all set up in UDM, you set up the wireless network and you just apply that to all 3 access points, and bang, Bob's your uncle, and away you go. Congratulations, JJ. Passed the AWS Solutions Architect on Saturday. No easy feat, by the way. And now on to the CISSP. Again, CISSP is no easy feat either. So, congratulations, JJ. Big round of applause for that. Good job. Those aren't easy, and people look at some of these certifications and they think, it's just AWS. But until you sit for some of those things, it's not just AWS. It's those are tough exams and needed in the market today, especially those cloud security certifications. I'm telling you, solutions architect, even the fundamentals. It's not fundamentals. AWS practitioner exam, not a cakewalk. And obviously, hopefully, JJ, on your long-term plan somewhere is that AWS security solutions certification. I forget. AWS certifications, their names elude me a bit. Big old congratulations to you. So we got a lot going on. There's a ton going on in the news. I harvested the best. I picked the best things out for you guys. I found I love when people try to do a FaceTime call right at 7:30. I'm not going to answer the phone at 7:30. I can't. Yeah, big old congratulations. Dennis is saying congratulations too. So yeah, that's awesome. I change that font. That yellow, it doesn't work. Doesn't work in the morning on that light yellow color. So Got about 4 or 5 stories today for you, harvested cold from the news that's out there. So let's roll the intro, and we will get to the news. That's your morning tune. Lets you know we're getting ready to start talking about news. We're gonna talk about this stuff. We're gonna see what is the haps, what's going on in the world of cyber, your world of cyber, what you need to know today. And today I'm gonna say today is
Oh, really?
yeah, voice from the sky. Today, some of these articles are just the yeah, really. So, first up in the hopper today is Linux. And this is from ZDNet. There we go, Dennis. Hasn't came through. Dennis is saying, there we go. Working on the CCSP. Let's see if we can change that color real quick before we continue on so we can actually see what's going on. Where does it put the color wheel? There we go. Change that thing to bright white. We can see it. Working on the CCSP from ISC squared. Cloud is the way to go. Cloud's the way to go. But to get there, the cloud is just, your stuff running on someone else's computer. So that's the way it is. That's what's going on. What in the world? I don't know. Okay. This is the stories you gotta know. They're the things that just we'll talk. I guess this morning we'll change this. This morning is the morning of myths because that's how we're going to finish it. This first article from ZDNet. This surprise Linux malware shows that hackers are changing their targets. And really, if you check this article out from ZDNet, it's talking about the fact that Russian hackers are targeting Linux systems. So the revelation from the FBI National Security Agency that Russia military intelligence has been targeting malware Linux systems seems the latest dramatic twist in the unrelenting cybersecurity battle. The story goes on to say the two agencies have revealed that Russian hackers have been using previously undisclosed malware for the Linux system called Dravorub. Russian. Okay. As part of their cyber espionage operations, the malware allows attackers to steal files and take over devices. And this is no earth-shattering revelation here. The way that attackers look at the world is, let's look at the largest chunk of devices that we can attack for the least expense. And that least expense is either money to buy tools or time it takes to develop tools. And for a long, long time, that massive chunk of the internet, that massive chunk of computing power has always been Windows. So if you develop malware, you're going to develop it for Windows, right? That makes sense because the same money, same amount of time you put into it developing an attack for 5% of the market, you can put that in and get 90% of the market. So why not go for the 90? So that's why people always attack Windows, because it's 90% of the market share. It just is. But now we have to think, okay, back-end servers are running Linux. And the other thing that's huge now is the Internet of Things. These IoT devices almost all run Linux operating systems. So Linux is gaining more and more market share. Whether you know Linux or not, you're running Linux devices. So, that single mother in Hartford, Connecticut, and the family out in Manhattan, Kansas, they're all running these Linux devices on their networks, and they just don't know it. They just don't know they're there. So now that the Linux is gaining market share, it's becoming a more and more attractive target. So 10 years ago, 20 years ago, Linux folks, Mac folks would say, I don't need antivirus. I don't need anti-malware because my system's a Linux system. I don't get attacked. Well, that's always been a fallacy because the applications that run on those platforms, especially Adobe, Acrobat Reader, Flash Player, they're all susceptible to attack. So that's always been kind of a fallacy. But now more than ever, um, you have to run malware. You have to keep your system patched and updated. And you can't really run malware on these Internet of Things devices. What you have to do is you have to keep them updated and you have to keep them patched. So you have to keep a track of things. And, 20 years ago, I don't think I'd be telling you guys, make sure your light bulbs are patched. But today, that's a very real thing. If you're running Philips Hue light bulbs, the G8 GE light bulbs from IKEA, they're smart light bulbs. They work well. They are built for convenience, and that's, as security and risk and cyber people, we have to make sure that we're dealing with the change in environment, that people are moving more towards these smart devices. And we have to be able to say, okay, I've got friends, family, coworkers. They've got those Amazon Echo devices. They've got the Google. They've got Apple Home. They've got smart light bulbs. They've got Arlo cameras. They've got all these things. How do we help protect them? And that's number one thing is, keep them patched, keep them updated. And if you're running a smart network, the ability to do that, or maybe just two networks, keep them segmented. Keep the Internet of Things devices separated from your computers. And maybe that's just running two different wireless networks. That's a possibility. Obviously, I'm going to just talk about, I don't get any money from Ubiquiti. I don't get any free product from Ubiquiti. But their products work, and you can build VLANs. You can segment out your Internet of Things devices and have them separate from your computers. And that's one of the things we need to do with these Linux stuff. If it's a full-on Linux operating system, have malware on it. Regardless of what it is, keep it updated and keep it patched. The people want to take your systems over because they want to use them for something. So they want to use them to harvest your data. They want to use them to encrypt your files so they can get money from you. They want to use your device for some malicious activity, such as Bitcoin mining or attacking other sites or moving laterally around your network. Keep your stuff secure. And that's what this is all about. Linux is not bulletproof. It never has been. And now more than ever, it's getting a larger market share. So as it gets a larger market share, it's going to become more and more of a target. So that's the Linux story. Dennis said he's been working on CCSP, which is the ISC squared certification. JJ is saying that's certainly on his list after CISSP. And I'll use the CCSP for the CEUs, continuing education units. Of course, you got to plan those out, because nothing worse than getting your certification yanked because you didn't do your CEUs. And they will do that. Well, good folks at ISC Squared will definitely pull your credentials if you don't keep up with your required CEUs, that's for sure. Next up, our friends, the Lazarus group. We know this is APT38. Oh yeah. Any other I agree, Dennis. Botting they installing bots on your computers and using it for other attacks, including distributed denial of service attacks, like Dennis is saying here. Definitely one of the things, they're just going to do bad. They want to take your machine and do bad things with it, and that's one of them. Yeah, they can use it to move laterally, attack other things, including that distributed denial of service, using it as part of a botnet campaign. Heck, even just using your machine to send spam out. All kinds of things they can do once they get in. So don't let them in. That's the big thing. So Lazarus, our friends from North Korea, we know them as APT38. If you're in Trivia Night, that would have got you a point, because we talked about Lazarus. We talked actually about APT38. What is it? Often confused with Fancy Bear or Cozy Bear 2829. But APT38, also known as Hidden Cobra, keeping your APTs straight in your mind. So, since the beginning of 2020, this year, the North Korean-linked threat group known as Lazarus has successfully compromised dozens of organizations in Israel and other countries, targeting their employees with appealing job offers. Clear Skies, the reporting this week. It's not a new story. This has been going on for a while. These campaigns have been going on. This looks like another leg of the same campaign. And what are these guys? These guys are calling it, they got a different code name for it. Let me see. They're calling it Operation Dream Jobs. I can't remember. This already got a code name. This attack vector has already got a code name, but these guys want to have their own code name for it. They're calling it Dream Jobs. Pretty slick code name, Dream Jobs, because we know if you've been watching the. Good morning, Alex. If you've been watching the Cup of Cyber, you know the way this attack goes is they are sending malicious job offers to people in defense and technology industry areas, and they're trying to take over their devices. This article does a good job, and this is by Security Week, of course. Goes in talking a little bit more about the TTPs of a AP238 or Lazarus as they go through this attack. So the hacking group is known for using a variety of malware, including the recently developed MODA framework and a significant number of Mac malware families. So again, patch your Mac, patch your Linux. Over the past couple of years, the U.S. Cyber Command has shared various malware samples associated with the group. Campaign's been successful. It's been in place since the beginning of the year, and it's succeeded. They've targeted Israel in this case. The North Koreans have targeted Israel. Israel saying, nah, they didn't really get in, but Clear Skies is saying, yeah, they did. And they're calling it Dream Jobs because they're offering these great jobs from aerospace industry, defense and aerospace industries within the United States, like BAE, Boeing, Donald Douglas, Lockheed Martin, any of these companies. They're offering these dream jobs. Attackers spend weeks or even months gaining the victim's trust by conducting conversations via personal email, instant message applications, and even through voice calls over the phone or over WhatsApp. And then finally, at the end game, when they work all the way through this, they finally send the loaded document over, and the victim is tricked into opening the malicious attachment. So, big thing to follow on this one is the amount of time this group is willing to put in to spear phishing an individual campaign attack victim. So they're spending weeks or months targeting somebody, cultivating that relationship, sending email, doing calls, really making it look like it's a real job. We're going to talk about this in our last story this morning. It's one of the myths is that you'll be able to see these things coming. It takes true diligence to stay on top of these things. So the story finishes out, a successful infection allowed attackers to collect information on the company's activity as well as its financial affairs, likely in preparation for future attacks aimed at stealing money from the victims' organizations. In a quote from, no, it's just a quote from Clear Sky. I thought they had a person they were quoting was just a quote from Clear Sky. We assess this to be this year's main offensive campaign by the Lazarus Group, and it embodies the sum of the group's accumulative knowledge on infiltration into companies and organizations around the globe. Our estimation is the group operates dozens of research and intelligence personnel to maintain the campaign globally. And we know one of the big things Lazarus does, in addition to harvesting intelligence and information, is they're gaining money for the North Korean regime. So they do this through different attacks, like ransomware attacks, stealing information. Their big goal is to keep the North Korean government in operation. So intelligence and money are the biggest things they're bringing back to the government. And this is their main campaign. We've seen it targeted the United States. Many people out here in the DC area have probably been targeted by these folks. And just think about, that long trail. They've used months to build a relationship with somebody to finally spring this trap on them, to get in where they need to get in. So, if you are in the job market, which I know people are, and some people are continually in the job market. If you're a consultant or a contractor, you're kind of continually in the job market. You're always in the job market. Um, be aware of these things. Sometimes those dream jobs, make sure, if you can reach back out to, you get it from Lockheed Martin. Maybe try to figure out, hey, get with Lockheed Martin. Does this person really work for you? It becomes a little more complicated because a lot of these companies, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, BAE, John Douglas, a lot of times they'll use a third party headhunter, a recruiting firm to initially do these reach outs. So that could be part of the cover. It's like, oh, well, we don't actually work for BAE. We're a resource firm for BAE that they contract with us. There could be a long story behind this. So be diligent. Watch out what you're opening, right? So what they want to do is they want to, again, they want to take over your computer. Same as the last cats. They want to take over your computer. They want to do all those things that we talked about before, including what Dennis said, running that botnet on your computer and using it to do denial of service, distributed denial of service, sending out spam, move lateral around the network, whatever. Keep your system patched. Keep it updated. Keep it your malware updated and current. Those are all things we need to do. Those are all important security things we need to do. So make sure we do them, and make sure your friends, your families, coworkers, your organization is all following that trend too. Again, this is something that needs to be on your personal risk radar. Be thinking about when somebody offers you a job, can you validate they're really from that organization? There's a number of ways to do that. One thing is, is that job posting actually on, the career path or career page of that organization? Maybe ask, and it's not foolproof because the attacker, these guys are not, they're not going to be easy to spot. So they may take an actual job posting from BAE or Lockheed Martin, one of these places, and use that actual job posting offering you the job. So you may be able to go back and validate, is there really a job offer there? That's what may be the first step is, hey, give me the job number. I'm going to go check it out on their webpage, make sure it really exists. But that's not foolproof. That means that the job's there. They may just be using that as the bait to get you in there. Try to see if they're really from that organization. Ask them, are you a Lockheed Martin employee? Are you a BAE employee? Or are you, a subcontractor or something like that? That's a headhunter firm. Get them to, if they say they're like a Boeing employee, then see if they actually work for Boeing. They're going to use a long, drawn-out attack to get to you. So you have to make sure your defenses are the same way. So Lazarus out there, their big goal is to get money, get information. Those are two big things they want to do. And any system they're going to get, they're going to do that with. It looks like this is very, very targeted. So this is spear phishing, a very targeted campaign. So Lazarus is out there and needs to be on your radar, man. Keep an eye out. Dharma, and I know you guys are going to say that's not the Dharma ransomware logo. That's that logo from Lost. And you're right. That's the Lost logo for Dharma. Dharma, a lot of these ransomware campaigns don't have a logo. Like Maze. Maze has a logo. Maze is like a corporation. They're out there. But Dharma doesn't have one. So I stole this from the Dharma initiative from Lost. This article is from CISO in. So in is from India. So Dharma ransomware attacking SMBs. Average loss is rupees 6.4 lakh, which means $8,620 US is the average ransomware that Dharma's getting. And I probably messed up the whole Indian currency system, so I apologize if I didn't mean to offend anybody trying to use the right terms from the article, and I should have just jumped into it. So in New Delhi, small and medium-sized businesses are witnessing increased ransomware attacks globally, including in India. This year, the ransom demands have reached nearly $8,620 on average in the pandemic times. And that $8,500, we'll call it $8,500, is really a point that we need to pay attention to. We've seen these big $45,000, $100,000. These big payoffs by big companies. And I've been saying this for weeks now, is we're going to see a trend where these things start targeting more small and medium-sized businesses, especially Dharma. If you remember Dharma, Dharma is the affiliate program, right? So they run their own attacks, but you can also license the Dharma ransomware as ransomware as a service and be essentially a ransomware script kiddie. I'm going to say it, Dennis. I'll just throw it out there. I know ransomware script kiddie. I don't know if that's a term or not, but we know script kiddie is. So the article goes on to say the Dharma ransomware as a service, or RAAS, attacks are troubling small and mid-sized businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic. Cybersecurity firm Sophos has witnessed an 85% of such attacks, focusing on exposed tools like RDP, or remote desktop protocol. Dharma is Dharma is a fast food franchise ransomware, widely and easily available. Just about anyone can get it. That's from Sean Gallagher, threat researcher at Sophos. What's worrying enough? Excuse me. Okay, that's worrying enough in itself in normal times, but right now, with many businesses adopting to the pandemic and accommodating the need for rapid support for remote workers and IT staff stretched thin, the risk from these attacks are magnified, Gallagher went on. So Dharma's been around since 2016, one of the most profitable ransomware families around due to its mass marketing service-based model. This is the Amway of ransomware. Once Dharma customers, known as affiliates, have purchased the tool and compromised their target, they will rely mostly on a menu-driven PowerShell script, and it identifies itself as a toolbox and launches the attack with the message, "Have fun, bro. Have fun, bro." You're going to destroy someone's life. You maybe destroy someone's business. You may be destroying what somebody has worked for their entire life. But have fun, bro. Go make your $8,000, right? Sophos occasionally observed that affiliates are holding back some of the information as leverage to make additional ransom demands. So, they're going to get their initial $8,000. Maybe they're going to keep a couple juicy bits of information, because remember, this is the program that can pull data off before it's encrypted, and we can use that as as a way to get them to pay. Oh, you have backups? That's good. Glad you have backups. But we're going to put all your information online. How do you like that? Now pay us. So the key to avoid such ransomware is to shut down internet-facing remote desktop protocols, RDP, to deny criminals access to networks. If you need RDP, put it behind a VPN concentrator. Yeah, so if you have to have RDP up and running, put it behind a concentrator somewhere that you have to get maybe multi-factor authentication to get into the network, to get to the RDP connection to start with, right? Check that you have a full inventory of all devices connected to your network, and always install the latest security updates as soon as they're released on the devices and servers on your network. That's what the researchers got to say about that. Dennis, I keep hearing the bad cyber news from everywhere. Do you think the good bad guy ratio is still dichotomous? You are using big words on a Monday morning. The dichotomy of the attacker to the defender. It's interesting you say that, because probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about darknet sites that used to be very, very restrictive on letting people in, are now creating other subdomains that they let less qualified hackers into, and they're developing kind of a mentorship program to build people into these roles. So I think the dichotomy is about the same. I think as we are dealing with a shortage of defenders, I think the attackers are starting to feel the pinch. They're seeing a shortage of attackers as well. And that's probably, on our side, it's just we don't have enough qualified people. That's probably true on their side. They're building a lot of these tools to be, like like Dharma here. Sign up for it. We got it packaged for you. You can go use it and go make your money. Maybe they just don't. There's not enough qualified attackers. And it's a weird thing to say, I know. And we saw in that story, and I'll have to dig out the link to that story, but we saw in that story that they're actually using these kind of script kiddies, these noob hackers, and they're mentoring them. They're bringing them along. They're teaching them the tools of the trade to keep that program moving forward, right? And a lot of times these like Maze, Dharma, these are organizations. And we see the same thing with like the APTs, like we're talking about Lazarus earlier, APT 38. That's state sponsored. So I think it's it goes back and forth, right? On our side, we can't find people, we can't pay people enough to stay in the field sometimes. Some organizations have a hard time with that, especially the government, because they're banded by how much you can pay. The other side, they're probably feeling pressure from people going to jail, people getting caught, people getting locked up. That's probably the pressure they're feeling on their side, because as you've seen with this stuff, there's the ability to make a lot of money, but the risks are very high. And by no means take that to mean I think you should go out and be a bad guy, go out and be a black hat, a hacker, a script kiddie that's buying Dharma and doing that. I think that's the wrong thing. Hone your skills, go to work for either, your own shingle, an organization that, that you believe in, and go protect them. So yeah, great question, Dennis. That's an awesome question. I think, the ratios, the dichotomy, that back and forth, I think it's staying relatively stable. I think we're seeing a lot more organized crime on the hacker front. Things are becoming more solidified into groups and organizations, whether they're state sponsored or they're criminal organizations. I think it's getting more organized. And that's dangerous too, of course. That's my view. Let me know what you guys think. Am I off my rocker? I'd like to know. Is that just totally wrong? Is it that there's way more hackers now than there were before? Do we have way more defenders now than there were before? I know we're about 2 million short this year coming up. That's globally 2 million short. So there's plenty of room for people in the field. They just need to be qualified, right? And get those people that are trained and educated and certified. We see the government kind of backing off from the college requirements on a lot of their jobs. They'd rather have the people that are actually, and I'm not saying you don't get education or you don't get skills from college. You do for sure. But when you come out of college, you have the knowledge, but you maybe don't have the hands-on experience. It looks like the government is switching that around and looking for more hands-on experience going forward. They're de-emphasizing college and emphasizing hands-on experience a little more. But it's just to get people in. You spend 4 years in college. I've done this. Spent 4 years in college. You come out, and a lot of stuff you learn the first couple of years in technology is just outdated. That's Jim's view of the world, though. I could be totally wrong. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my thoughts. So backwards, always backwards. The Canadian Revenue Agency has temporarily shut down online services because of 2 cybersecurity attacks that compromised thousands of accounts linked to its services. This is by CBC, this article. So the breaches have been contained, but the CRA websites have been disabled as an additional security measure. The shutdown means that anyone attempting to apply for emergency COVID-19 benefits will be unable to do so until further notice. It's crazy, I'm sure a lot of people are in dire straits because they can't apply for those benefits. The agency said that as of August 14, about 5,500 accounts have been affected by separate attacks. Christopher Duty wrote Duty. That's funny. I'm still 8th grade kid at heart. The CRA quickly identified the impacted accounts and disabled access to these accounts to ensure the safety and security of the taxpayer information. That's from Duty. The CRA is continuing to analyze both incidents. Law enforcement assistance had been requested from the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Dudley do right of the Mounties, of course, if you're of my generation. An investigation has been initiated. So it's bad stuff. This attack, and we've talked about this before. This is credential stuffing. This is how they breached the system. So it was nothing that the CRA did wrong. It was users and probably some admins too. So credential stuffing, we know that people reuse their accounts. People reuse passwords. And if one database is breached with that password and that username, the attacker is going to probably grab that and try that account combination on different sites. And we know this can be automated now. So we can put that username and that password into a tool, and it will try a bunch of different sites to see if that username or variations on that username and that password or variations on that password will work to get them into other sites. So of the roughly 12 million active GC key accounts in Canada, the passwords and usernames of 9,041 users were acquired fraudulently and used to try to access government services, a third of which access such services are being further examined for suspicious activity. The compromised accounts were connected to the platform, which was used by about 30 federal departments, and they were shut down when this was first discovered. So this fraud is not uncommon. So credential stuffing is one of the things we need to watch out for. And this is one of the things we got to, harp on to our friends, our families, our coworkers, and our organization. Reusing passwords, while it's easy to create, once you create that complex password, it's easy to reuse that for several sites. But one site, once it's breached, means that all of those sites, you need to change the password. You need to go update all the passwords. So it's better to use different passwords on every site. And I know this is hard, and you're not going to do it manually. Most people aren't going to do it manually. So use some type of password vault. And we see this a lot of Norton or Symantec. I know their antivirus, their malware platform. When you pay for that service, you also get a password vault. There's other password vaults. What is it? I have to think of some. Some of you guys maybe throw them up on the screen. There's a lot of pass vaults out there. I can't think of any of them right now, of course, because that's just the way it goes. Yeah, use these vaults. Use different complex passwords, random complex passwords on all your different sites. Put them in a password vault that is synchronized and protected by a really strong password itself, or even better, multi-factor authentication. So you can get to these things and use a vault that is accessible from your desktop, your laptop, your mobile device, so you can keep them synchronized across those devices. Because you need to, it's not going to work unless it's usable, right? People do this thing. They reuse their passwords because it's easy. Once they come up with a complex password, they remember it, and they use it on different sites. That's what happens. So you have to have something like a password vault, where maybe that system generates a big old honking complex password that means nothing to anyone. It's all random. And you store it in a vault, and every time you go to use it, the vault provides the password for you. I think that's the best way to go. Is it perfect? I don't think it's 100% perfect, but it's a lot better than reusing passwords. It just is. Because due to no fault of your own, one of these companies gets a breach. Next thing you know, that password that you've used on 100 sites is now available to anyone that wants to try to use it. So definitely think about that. Craziness. So, yep, it's happening in Canada, happened in Israel, happens in the United States. Things are going awry everywhere. And our last story today, Fox News of all places. This is kind of a good article. 10 cybersecurity myths you need to stop believing. And this is a good one to share with your friends, your family, your coworkers. There are 10 things that you probably already know, right? Here's the subtopic or subheading of this is, we hear about cybercrime so often that it can quickly turn into white noise, and that's a mistake. So this is a rundown of the top 10 things, top 10 myths around cybersecurity, right? I don't have anything worth protecting. Well, the article says you're broke, no one cares about your data, right? That's not true. Um, the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, they all work on information. They sell your information to marketers. Your information is making them millions of dollars. Hackers want in on that, so they want in on your data. Protect it. Number two, I use security software, so I'm fine. And a lot of people think there's this invincible shield between you and the hackers because you're using security software. So you got to do other things besides just use security software. You have to keep your operating system and your software applications updated and patched. This includes your phone and your tablet. Don't forget about the router and the other devices you have on your network. That all has to be secured as well. Make sure you're using the right security software. Use something that is proven to be good, right? I saw a little cartoon. I guess it was probably on the Facebook this morning, where the little cartoon guy is saying, someone steal my data, free software or free antivirus, help me. And the next little cartoon was the free antivirus coming in with a cape, and then the last one was the free antivirus helping the attacker carry the data out of the network. It's kind of, I should save that. I'll see if I can find it and repost it. 3, with all these data breaches, you have nothing left to protect. So I'm on the list. I feel hopeless. There's no point in protecting it since my data's already been taken. That's not true, because there are different type of breaches that affect different people in different ways. There's different impacts to all of them. Just because you've been breached in one breach, and I'll use like OPM. A lot of us have been hit by OPM. Because you've been breached by OPM doesn't mean you don't need to protect your data. OPM got a ton of information from a ton of people, but you still need to protect your data. You still need to do it. This fourth one ties into what we were talking about earlier, especially with Lazarus Group. Phishing scams are easy to spot. Phishing scams are becoming more sophisticated as they use spear phishing and targeted techniques to go after very specific people. The article says very realistic looking extortion scams are also making rounds. The subject contains your email address and a password that looks familiar. The scammer says unless you pay up, they will release a video of you that they took using your webcam when you visit a porn site. This may have hit some of you. It's junk mail. It's part of this. It's not really stuffing, but it's using that same data that they found on a breach site. They're putting it into a phishing email, and they're sending it to 10,000 people, hoping some people send them money. That's all that is. But we've seen, like Lazarus, these phishing scams are not so easy to spot. They're getting more and more complex. Number 5, my friends on social media won't hurt me. Your friends won't, but sometimes your friends, and that's why we say we have to take care of our friends, our families, our coworkers, and our organization, right? Say our friends use weak passwords. Their account gets breached. They send you a private message about a cool video or something. You click it, and then their breach has become your problem now. So it's almost like supply chain, right? You got to keep your supply chain strong. You got to keep your friends list strong too. Make sure they know they've got to update things, keep them current, right? Your friends' bad habits on the internet could turn into a jumping point to breaches on your system. So be aware of that. Hackers, number 6, hackers are mysterious, scary figures. And this goes on to say, as you guys know, a lot of hackers are regular people and can be hard to spot. They're no longer just lone wolves, right? As we talked about, they're entire organizations crafted around these hack attacks. These are state-sponsored. They're mobsters. They're organized criminals. Once you realize how dire the threat is, it becomes easy to understand why it's important to take steps towards cybersecurity. Don't be disheartened, though. That's right. Attacks by association. That's right. Attacks by association. They attacking your friends. Number 7, I only go on mainstream sites, so I don't need security software. Yeah, you need security software no matter where you go. Remember what I said earlier, the article goes on to say, how social media apps sell their data, make their money. There are more cookies on your browser. You're being followed around everywhere you go. Multiple sites have your profile. That increases chances of your data being breached. Clear your cookies out. Don't just let them pile up, because you know a lot of these sites are supposed to make non-persistent cookies so they don't stay on your system so long. They can make that non-persistence a whole long time, or they can just avoid the fact that they're not supposed to be persistent and just make them persistent anyways. So you want to make sure you clean your cookies out. Get a habit of doing that. Get on the frequency that makes sense for you. Could be daily, could be weekly, could be monthly. Whatever works for your risk profile. Clean your cookies out of your browser. Friends, family, coworkers, same thing. I use complex passwords. Story says even long, complicated passwords aren't enough to keep you safe in today's security landscape. We know this because they're breaches of databases, and we use the same passwords across multiple sites. That makes it vulnerable. Nowadays, there are speedy programs that reuse billions of password combinations. It only takes seconds to run potential passwords. Not only that, but hackers have sophisticated methods for identifying passwords we use in password creation. So they're talking about breaking, hacking, cracking passwords. Yeah, there are programs that run billions of combinations a second. Millions, like I said, millions of combinations a second to break your password. That's offline attacks, right? I'm worried complex passwords are not enough, because there's breach sites also, and that's not in this article. Those breach sites, if your data is in one of these breach sites and you have a complex password you've used across multiple different sites, that's been compromised now, right? Use a password manager and two-factor authentication when you can. Number 9, I know a fake voice when I hear one. You've probably heard that scammers will call you with robotic voices pretending to be the IRS. They demand money. Maybe you've gotten one of the calls yourself. You may think you can recognize a robotic voice. Unfortunately, robocallers are improving their techniques. Deep fake technology. And we've seen this where you can put a face on someone else. And I've got a friend of mine that almost every day he'll put his face on different weird movie actors. A lot of times being, action stars or women or whatever. And it's deep fake technology. It doesn't just work for video. They can also copy voices now. Scary. It's like Total Recall, right? Was it Total Recall? No, Running Man. Sorry. I knew it was a Schwarzenegger movie. Like Running Man, when they put the grid over the guy and they made it look like Schwarzenegger got killed when he really didn't. We're getting closer and closer to that being a reality, which it, more than likely in some places it may already be. And number 10, I will know when something bad gets on my computer or my device. Cyber criminals work in stealth. When they're done doing their deeds, there's no flag that pops up. They have intricate ways of infiltrating and exfiltrating data. Can even be Trojan horses in the form of viruses lurking in your code right now. Now that you're aware of the 10 top most common security myths, you're better equipped to recognize misinformation spread by hackers who want to keep you vulnerable. Good article in the show notes. Again, it's by, Fox News, I think. Fox News, yeah. That might be one you want to share with your friends, your family, coworkers. Let them know that, hey, here's some things you can do. And there's some links in there to see if they've been breached. There's links in there to the top tools you can use and top antivirus, that kind of stuff. There's good links in there. Cybersecurity news, Fox News Live. It's in the show notes. Maybe a good one to share with your friends, your family. And, I won't leave you without giving you a crazy holiday to talk around the water cooler. Today, National Thrift Shop Day. Always held on August 17th. There's no proof that this is a national day. They can't find any proclamation that it was made a national day. But are you looking for a great deal? National Thrift Shop Day is a way to find a real bargain. A thrift shop is an old term for stores that sell items that are deeply discounted merchandise, not always the highest quality, but the price is right. These stores better as discount department store and dollar stores. Watch for sales and special days at thrift shops in celebration of National Thrift Shop Day. If you're an owner, create a sale around this special day and watch your August sales sizzle. Obviously, we see resale stores. Goodwill's got a big story on National Thrift Shop Day. it's a thrift shop. So some people have to go here. No harm in that. Sometimes I know people that go to, especially like the Goodwills, Salvation Army thrift shops, looking for collector items, movies, baseball cards, toys, games. Some of these things are worth a ton of money, and a lot of times they get donated to these thrift shops because people just don't know what they're worth. I know people that go around and check these places out looking for specific things in a circuit, like every weekend or whatever. Sometimes they make really good money doing that. I'm not saying that I want you to change your job. I need you here. I need you doing this job. But there's people that do that. Don't think they don't. So that's your rundown for the day. I always, always, always appreciate the conversation. I always appreciate you adding the comments to the chat. It helps keep things going. It gives the different perspective on things. Brings up things like Dennis brought up a point about DDoS and DOS. Obviously, yeah, that's a good point. Great question on dichotomy. JJ, congratulations again. Alex, good to see you this morning. It's Monday, so you got to go a full week ahead of you. What are you going to do with this week to make it better? I think, Dennis is probably going to work on CCSP. JJ's going to be starting that CISSP study. What do you guys got going? I'm in the Amazon world myself. I'm working on Amazon certifications because that's the way we go. RMF stuff. You see RMF stuff start dropping today. You see videos start dropping today on the RMF track. RMF 2.0, NIST 837 revision 2. The new stuff, going deep. We're going deep into why we do the RMF, what the RMF's all about. First 10 videos or so don't really touch the RMF other than talking about it, talking about NIST, talking about the cap, setting the stage for what the RMF is all about. Good morning. Thanks, Sacrifice, with standing up this program. Not a sacrifice if I get to talk to you guys, KOD. Good to see you this morning. Yeah, sacrifice getting up early in the morning. That is a rough one for sure. But I was like, once I get down here, once we start talking, I love talking to you guys. I love the information, the feedback I get from you guys because it is rough. When we first started the show, when we had nobody, sometimes just me talking to the empty air, it's disheartening. But now we're getting folks that are the regulars, folks here every morning talking about this stuff, and I appreciate that. It's awesome to see you guys. I love that picture, you flying over the clouds. That's awesome. But anyways, thanks for being here this morning. Thanks for putting up with my little bit off-kilter screen. We'll get that fixed. We'll get the camera set. But anyways, until tomorrow, 7:30, we'll be back. AM. No trivia this week. Trivia is next week. But be careful out there. Mike Sierra Bravo there, we'd tell you to go get some. Got a question here. Let's see. What's the standard for preparing application containers for an ATO? Talking about a container, I would treat a container just like any other system, right? The boundary is what you need to be careful of. So the boundary of the container should be that Docker container, right? And we can have that. We could have it as it's possible to be one big system, right? That's always the challenge for building the boundaries for our ATO. So what I would say, and this is the way I would do it, depending on how your organization is set, you may have one boundary that's set at the operating system. So Linux may be a boundary, right? So Linux, maybe I'll use the type accreditation for all Linux systems. Maybe the same thing for Docker. Maybe have a type accreditation for all Docker. And then that application system is the container itself. The boundary of the container for your ATO would be that container. And then I would have that application owner be responsible for everything within the container. And then they would inherit everything else from the organization, the operating system owner, the Docker container owner, and then whatever's left they would be responsible for. That's how I'd look at it. Docker, yep. So let's throw this up there. Hey, Matt. Everyone's looking good this morning. Docker. Yeah, Matt, if you're talking about Docker itself, yeah, I'm 100% with Matt on this one. If we're talking about Linux or if we're talking about Docker itself, there's benchmarks out there. Go check out the Center for Internet Security benchmark for Docker. But if you're talking about the application within Docker itself or any container system, you can draw that boundary around the application because that's what we want the container to be, right? We want the container to be a security boundary for the application. But we got to make sure that that can't leak out, right? So we have to check, just like if we had a computer on a network and we're accrediting that computer separate from the network, we'd want to make sure that we know the data flows between the container, the application, and the Docker itself, right? So that's how I do it. Matt, you have experience in this, maybe. Can you show any insight? Let me know what you think of that approach. I'd love to hear it. I think we got about a little bit of a delay, so we'll see. Oh, Kafka. Not sure. The problem I have with STIGs, and it's not a problem with the STIGs themselves, is I don't have access to the PKI part. I can only have access to the public part because I'm in the commercial world now. The Kafka messaging application. I would think Kafka is so big that there's a STIG for it, and I'm thinking it's probably because it's messaging. It might be behind the PKI wall. I don't know for sure. I don't think there's one on the public side of DISA that I can get to, but Kafka is so big. I have to think there's got to be one. Had a light go down because I'm hitting the table. Probably not a good thing. Not Brezhnev. I would think there's one for Kafka. We can look today. Anyone want to jump in? If you want to jump in and say, is there a Kafka STIG or a security technical implementation guide? Security technical implementation guide for Kafka messaging. Looked at the benchmarks when I was doing some Docker AWS stuff. Only got into the beginning. Yeah, I know for sure 100% there's a CIS Docker benchmark, like Matt said. 100%. Kafka, I would think there is one, but I don't know off the top of my head. Honestly, I don't know. If you have that PKI, go check out the DISA site and see if there's one there. I don't know. Maybe we'll bring that. Well, let's do some. I'm going to take that as a personal challenge. Oh, none on DISA. Okay, looks like you already done that. I don't know. I'll look around. I'll kick around today. Let's see if I find any of that in Kafka. I don't think there's anything in CIS. But there's nothing in DoD. You might be. The third thing I always look at, is there any security guidance on the site for the application or the product or whatever. The product I'm looking. Is there any security guidance on that site as well? So check see if there's anything available in the associated, like the repos or anything like that. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. Kafka's big though. Kafka's out there. Oh, we'll follow up. Yeah, join tomorrow. We'll follow up more on Kafka tomorrow in the post news show when we usually talk about these one-off things. So I'll do some digging. Challenge every one of you guys out there to do some digging on Kafka. Something you should know. Something if you don't know, we all kind of learned that basic virtualization. The next round of virtualization we're in right now is these containers, right? So it's Docker containers, normally built in the cloud, and we virtualize just the application layer. And Kafka is a way to do messaging. So challenge you to go look at Docker, go look at Kafka. Come back tomorrow morning. I'm gonna look see if I can find some baselining information on Kafka. Security vendor. So the vendor does have a security reference guide. That's a good place to start. Yeah, if they have a security reference guide, you might have to pull your baseline information out of that benchmark. But I'll take it as a challenge for all of us. We'll go look into Kafka, and we can report back tomorrow. Let's see if we can take care of each other, because that's what we do, right? So more on Kafka tomorrow, more on Docker tomorrow. See if I can find some reference. I'll throw them in the show notes tomorrow for you. But hang out. We'll Docker and Kafka tomorrow. So As always, you guys be careful out there. Be safe out there. Take care of your friends, your families, co-workers, and your organization. The Bravos will say, that's Sierra and Mike will say, go get some. I'll say go get some. Go get some. Take care of your folks, and we will see you tomorrow at 7:30 to talk more security and the news around cyber. Be careful, guys.